Imagine waking up in a world where you're the villain, but you don't even know it. Agatha Harkness, trapped, powerless, and unraveling a mystery that leads right back to her. You thought Wanda's story was wild? Oh, this is so much darker. Welcome to Agatha All Along. Ah, Westview. We're back. But it's not the Westview we remember, is it? The streets, the homes, the neighbors, all have this eerie, almost noir vibe now. It feels less like the light-hearted sitcom world of WandaVision and more like something straight out of a crime thriller. And that's because this time, we're not following Wanda's magical misadventures. We're deep into Agatha All Along and Episode 1. Agnes of Westview, a detective show where Agatha's trapped in her own mind, unraveling a mystery of her own making. And let me tell you, it's a wild ride. Before we dive in, if you're excited to see Agatha Harkness take center stage in her own twisted little world, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe for all the juicy breakdowns and reviews. Trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next. The new Agatha. Alright, let's get into it. Agatha All Along. Episode 1 opens with something of a surprise. 3 years have passed since the events of WandaVision. Agatha, still physically trapped in the persona of Agnes, the nosy neighbor, isn't quite aware of who she is anymore. But here's the twist. Mentally, she's in a completely different reality. She's a detective now, living in her own gritty crime drama called Agnes of Westview. First off, let's just appreciate the genius of setting this up like a Scandinavian crime drama parody. The opening credits even say it's based on the Danish series WandaVision. It's such a clever nod to how these shows obsess over unraveling mysteries. And what better way for Agatha, who spent all of WandaVision trying to figure out who Wanda was, to now be piecing together the mystery of who she herself is. That irony? It's dripping all over this episode, and I absolutely love it. You can tell the writers had a blast playing with the detective genre tropes. Kathryn Hahn, as Agatha, slips seamlessly into this rugged, world-weary detective character, and it's absolutely hilarious seeing her in this role. It's almost like watching Elliot Stabler from Law & Order SVU if he were a centuries-old witch. The mystery of the murder. So what's the crime that Agatha's investigating in this episode? A murder, but not just any murder. Wanda Maximoff herself. Or at least, that's what it seems like at first. Agatha arrives at the crime scene in the woods. The same woods where, remember, she killed her entire coven back in the Salem witch trials. And she finds the charred body of a woman with blackened fingers. Right away, this body is giving us Darkhold vibes, right? But here's where things get tricky. It's all an illusion. We know from Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness that Wanda's supposedly buried under the rubble of Mount Wundagore. So this body Agatha finds, it's more of a reflection of her own confusion and fear, especially since she still has no idea who she really is. She's grappling with her memories, struggling to connect the dots, and that's what makes this detective angle so interesting. And speaking of dots to connect, the show does an incredible job of weaving in subtle, blink-and-you'll-miss-it moments that suggest Agatha's real identity is beginning to leak through. For instance, she finds a locket at the crime scene, one that shows the 3 faces of the Mother, Maiden, and Crone, which is basically witch symbolism 101. And that lock of hair inside? Yeah, things are about to get spooky. The Westview residents return. Now, let's talk about the citizens of Westview. You didn't think they'd miss out on this detective drama, did you? Oh no, they're back, and they've got new roles in Agatha's twisted little show. Herb, who we know from WandaVision as the quirky neighbor, is now John, Agatha's partner on the police force. Phil is the police chief, still married to Dottie, who's now a librarian instead of a suburban queen bee. And Norm, he's running a pawn shop, which, let's be real, is a perfect fit for his character. What I love about these characters returning is how they're all part of Agatha's subconscious reconstruction of her world. She's trying to solve a crime while simultaneously trying to solve herself. Every interaction with these characters brings her a step closer to unlocking her past, even if she doesn't fully realize it yet. They're all like puzzle pieces in the bigger mystery. Take this scene with Norm, for example. Agatha's questioning him about an old book that turns out to be none other than the Darkhold, or at least what's left of it. All the copies have been torched, and that leads her to start wondering, who could be powerful enough to destroy a book like that? It's like she's chasing her own tail without even realizing it. Introducing Rio and Teen. Now, here's where things really start to heat up. Two new characters make their debut in this episode. Aubrey Plaza as Rio Vidal and Joe Locke as Teen. And let me just say, the chemistry between Rio and Agatha, off the charts. Aubrey Plaza plays Rio with this smirking, sarcastic edge that matches Agatha's wit perfectly. Rio comes into Agatha's life pretending to be a federal agent, but it's clear she knows way more than she's letting on. She drops hints, little lines that poke at Agatha's identity, like, "You've lived here your whole life, haven't you, Agnes?" It's these subtle challenges that start to break the Agnes facade, and you can see Agatha struggling to keep it together. Rio's arrival shakes everything up. Then there's Teen, oh boy. He's this snarky goth kid who breaks into Agatha's house looking for something called the Road. We don't know exactly what this means yet, but it seems to be connected to the Witch's Road, a major piece of lore in the comics that ties into Agatha's past. Teen's role is definitely going to be key in unraveling Agatha's history, and I'm super intrigued to see where that goes. And how about that interrogation scene between Agatha and Teen? Agatha thinks she's showing him gruesome crime scene photos, but we as the audience see that it's actually just pictures of flowers. It's such a brilliant, twisted bit of humor, and it shows just how disconnected Agatha is from reality. She's not just solving a mystery, she's living in one. The real story begins. But the real story of this episode starts to unfold when Agatha heads to the morgue. She finds out the victim's library card has a name on it, W. Maximoff. That's when everything starts clicking into place. Agatha's spell is breaking. The clothes she's wearing, the different decades we saw her in during WandaVision, they all start peeling away in this incredible sequence where she finally claws out of the Agnes persona and wakes up as herself. Agatha Harkness. It's a pretty sick sequence, if I do say so myself. Agatha is tearing through her past like it's old wallpaper, shedding all the different versions of herself until only the Agatha Harkness is left standing. But here's the kicker. She's completely powerless, and naked, and confused. It's both hilarious and sad, watching her storm around her house in a rage, realizing that Wanda left her with nothing. But of course, this wouldn't be a Marvel show without some major conflict brewing. Just as Agatha is coming to terms with her powerless state, Rio shows up, destroying half her house in the process. The fight between these two is insane. It's brutal, it's messy, and let's be honest, it's extremely homoerotic. Rio's out for blood, but there's more to their dynamic than just a simple rivalry. There's history here, and Rio even admits that she can't kill Agatha yet, because she's not allowed. Then, just as things seem to settle, Rio delivers the ominous line, "The Salem 7 are coming for Agatha at sundown." And just like that, the stage is set for what's going to be an epic showdown in future episodes. What does it all mean? Alright, let's take a step back and unpack everything we've just seen. Agatha has essentially been sleepwalking through her own mind, trapped in this detective noir world, trying to solve a murder that's really a metaphor for her own lost identity. The arrival of new characters like Rio and Teen signals that Agatha's past is catching up with her, but she's still powerless, both literally and emotionally. And with the Salem 7 on the horizon, it looks like Agatha is going to have to dig deep if she wants to survive. I think the real takeaway from episode 1 is that while we're watching a detective show on the surface, the real mystery is Agatha herself. And this is where I have mixed feelings. On one hand, I love the slow burn of Agatha's journey, the way her identity is gradually coming into focus. But on the other hand, I kind of wish we got to the real action sooner. The noir parody is fun, but it almost feels like an extended prologue to the actual story. I'm eager for the real magic to start, literally and figuratively. The future of Agatha All Along. So, what's next for Agatha Harkness? We've got Salem witches, Rio's mysterious agenda, and a goth teen running around talking about the road. And all of that is going to collide in a massive way. But for now, we leave episode 1 with Agatha naked, powerless, and probably angrier than ever. And that can only mean one thing. Things are about to get very, very witchy. If you're as hyped as I am to see how Agatha reclaims her power and handles her witchy adversaries, hit that subscribe button and stay tuned. Trust me, things are just getting started in Westview, and you won't want to miss any of it. Thanks for watching, and remember, don't trust a witch, especially when she's solving her own murder.